All right, everyone, welcome to another edition of the Good Life Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Blakely, and I am pleased to be joined today by Josh Holmquist, who is one of the co-owners of Normal Roasting Company and Coffee Lab. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, got it. Okay, in Burwell, right on the town square. Love the small town square. So,
oh yeah.
Josh, thanks for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me, man.
Let's get to know you a little bit more. What books are you reading or listening to right now?
The one that I'm really digging into is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
It just talks about like quantum theory and how to like change your future by taking actions and steps today.
Okay.
And what that looks like. I'm just getting into it. I'm literally in the first 50 pages. So
nice.
It's pretty heavy, but it's a good book.
It sounds pretty heavy. How'd you hear about that?
Actually, I heard about that from a mentor and personal development coach, Dr. Denise Trudeau.
Okay.
She does SBLA and ORD.
Okay.
I'm a part of a mastermind down there, and she recommended that we dig into it and see what we can come up with. So
nice.
That's where we're at with that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How about podcasts? You listen to podcasts at all?
I do. I am not currently listening to any right now. Work has just been too crazy, and I haven't had a whole lot of travel time. So,
yeah.
I do enjoy the JRE.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I haven't really been doing a whole lot with podcasts here lately.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You kind of have to have the time to focus on it.
Yes.
I've got some where I'll listen when I'm just driving around town, where you get 5-10 minutes where you can listen to it, where you don't have to be like super listening in depth. But,
yeah.
Or Husker podcasts where you can just kind of.
Yeah. During the fall, I like listening to football games
Yeah.
and volleyball and stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. So. Cool. All right, man. Let's get to know about Normal Roasting Company here in Burwell, Nebraska. How did this thing get started? Just start from as far back as you want to. Give us the history and kind of where you guys are at now.
So originally, it was started in Normal, Illinois.
Okay.
The founders of it got into, so they, let me think about this, collect thoughts. So their church that they attended was wanting to change their coffee offering. And the owners had a little tiny coffee roaster that they were gifted.
Okay.
On an offhand deal. It was kind of a funny story, but so they bought some green coffee online and they just roasted it a couple of different ways, and they didn't really think about like what happens tomorrow, and they just entered their coffee. Well, they ended up winning the contest and getting their coffee served at church, and that's where it all started. So they started serving it at church, and then the congregation started digging it, and they started contacting them and being like, hey, can we buy some of this coffee? And they were like, sure, I'm sure, yeah, we can figure something out. And so that's how they started selling it to the friends and family of the people that attended church, and then sold it to their friends and family, and that's where it all started in Normal, Illinois. They finished school in Normal, Illinois, and ended up moving to Arcadia, Nebraska. And that's where it was located when we purchased the business back in 2017.
Okay.
Yes, 2017. So we operated in Arcadia for 6-ish months.
Brick and mortar building?
Yep.
Okay.
We didn't have a storefront, we just had the roastery at the time.
Okay.
And so we were just doing production roasting back there. When we purchased the business, there was like 6 wholesale accounts. And if you wanted to order coffee from Normal, you would just call or text the owners.
Okay.
So before us, it was the Kriegers, and when we purchased it, you just call or text Sara or myself and say, hey, I'd like a bag of coffee.
Yep.
Sara, my wife and co-owner, started and built out our very first website.
Okay.
Within 6 months, we sat down and got to penciling it out. Driving to Arcadia was kind of a pain. It's a 45-minute drive one way. And, if you get any kind of weather or something and childcare and stuff. So we sat down and penciled it all out. And I'm like, man, if we can purchase a building in Burwell for this dollar amount, like we're spending the same or saving a little bit as compared to driving to Arcadia every day. So we ended up buying the building on the square. When we purchased the building, funny story there, I actually worked as a plumber after I graduated high school.
Okay.
Back in 2006. So the summer of 2006, before I went to college, I was a plumber, and the plumbing company that I worked for operated out of the same building.
Okay.
So it's kind of a fun full circle.
Nice.
So when we approached the owner of the building, I said, "Hey, Mr. Ron, like, you want to sell that building on the square that's empty where you used to have the plumbing shop?" And he's like, "Man, that'd be great." So
nice.
It was kind of a neat tie-in
Yeah.
there. So we got a lot of history here. But we just built out the back end. So the front of the house, we didn't do anything. We stripped it all down to studs, cleaned it up, but we just left it exposed studs. We cleaned up the roastery where we're at now, got new tin on the walls, fresh paint, new flooring in, and we've been operating here since July of 18 is when we moved in here.
Got it. Great building, by the way.
July of 17 we moved here.
Okay.
Well, thank you. It took a lot of time and energy, but it turned out pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So when we bought the business, like Sara was coming in, and we bought it originally as just kind of like a project thing for Sara. She was a stay-at-home mom. At the time we had four kids. Had 4 kids.
Okay.
And so it was just something to get her out of the house and allow her to do something different. But it very quickly evolved. Sara and I aren't very good at like moving slow on things or doing them halfway.
Yep.
And so once we got into it, we developed a website so then you could log on, you could get online and order our coffee offline.
Yep.
And really very quickly, like we recognized that was an incredible tool for us because that enabled us to reach people all over the country or the world. And it didn't take that much effort. Like you just put it out there and people find it, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
So we very quickly moved from one day of roasting where she would come in, collect all of our orders, create the production run, roast all the coffee, package all the coffee, and deliver all the coffee all in one day.
Wow.
But we very quickly scaled it to 2 days a week. And then I came on in 2018, I came on and was working part-time.
Okay.
And then I was working part-time until July of 20 when we opened our coffee lab in the front of the building.
Okay.
It was really funny because we opened the lab, the coffee shop, and people are like, "I've lived in Burwell for 20 years and I didn't know anything like this existed." And I'm like, "Well, until about 20 minutes ago, it didn't exist, but we were roasting in the back." And they were like, "We didn't even know."
Huh.
And so being in a town of 1,200 people, the coffee lab, we call it a lab. It's an opportunity for us to show the community in the area like what coffee actually can be. It's more than just like grinding some beans and pushing a button and getting hot brown liquid in a cup. Like there's an art to it, you know? And so the lab has really been an opportunity for us to experiment with our ideas and bring people in and show them what we're doing and what coffee actually is, and people really just love it.
Yeah.
So in 2020 we opened the coffee shop, and that has just really been a big advertising space with the lake located 8 miles from town, 10 miles from Burwell. We're a huge tourist community, and so offering an Omaha style, if I can say that, an Omaha style cup of coffee in a town of 1,200 people just blows people away.
Yeah.
And so it's been really great to just raise awareness of who we are, where we're at, what we do, and the services we offer, and that's been super awesome for us. So we have people that come out and they've got permanent campers out at the lake or around the lake area. And so they come in Thursday, Friday, and Saturday mornings and get their cup of coffee and have that little piece of Omaha while they're still located in Burwell, away from all the traffic and stuff. And it's kind of a nice little deal.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome. I want to talk about. I guess I just want to talk about the pandemic and how you guys handled that, because you were operating before. But you opened the lab. In 2020 in July.
Right in the middle
Things
of all
had
of it.
opened up by then. Your small town Nebraska, just talked about how that was, that whole experience, I guess. Were you planning to open sooner? Was it something that just kind of evolved out of what happened with the pandemic? Kind of talk about how your business evolved with that.
That's super interesting. We had been trying to get approved for funding to build out the lab for a while. We were looking into possibly buying another coffee shop in another community or purchasing a coffee shop locally or what we were wanting to do to expand and grow our brand. And as we talked about it and prayed about it, like we really felt that opening a space in our community was going to be the best thing for us to do. Right. And we got approved for, and it just like we were working on getting approved for funding, building a business plan, creating cash flow and that sort of thing, budgets and all of that. And it just kind of worked out that we got approved early 20 for the space. And that was actually really beneficial in hindsight because we got an SBA loan. And so through that, they deferred our payments until halfway through 21. You know, we were granted the money and then we were allowed to withhold payment not make any payments until July of 2021. So it gave us 12 months of operation to create cash flow and get some of that stuff up before we needed to start making some of those payments. And that
so you got the loan in the middle of the pandemic? Or
yeah, we got the loan early 20.
Okay.
And then because we had so much construction already done with like the demo work and all of that stuff, the construction part of it actually went really quickly because everything was prepped and ready to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were approved early 20 and then we actually opened up in July of 20.
Got it.
Which also happened to be the 99th anniversary for the Burwell Rodeo.
Oh.
And so it was the year before the centennial, and so there was a bunch of people in town. And we opened the week of rodeo.
Oh wow.
Which was just chaos.
Yeah.
In a good way. Nobody quit.
Yeah.
Customers and staff alike were very understanding.
That's good.
But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and we've just slowly been gaining traction and improving on our processes and stuff ever since. So it's been pretty neat to watch it grow.
So did you use those months where things were kind of shut down to get everything ready for July? Like you used those to your advantage where there wasn't necessarily maybe the pressure of, people coming in or needing to get things done sooner. You're dealing with the pandemic, so you maybe weren't as rushed and could kind of...
It really worked out in our favor because of the pandemic. A lot of the building contractors were slower. They had a little bit more availability. And so when it came to like lining up contractors and subs for all of that stuff, it was actually really pretty simple because contractors had some customers that like, well, we got the pandemic going on. I really don't want a whole bunch of people in my house. And so with it being a commercial space and not needing to go up front, the building crew could come in, the subs could come in and do all of their work when they needed to. And there was no real overlap. And so it worked out really well. It was a pretty safe job site for everybody, and it worked out well. Also, being in a town of 1,200 people, our COVID laws and rules were a little bit more lax than a lot of the other areas across the state. And so, it just kind of worked out and didn't have any major issues. So.
Did you see your online sales go up during COVID?
Oh man, online support was incredible.
That's awesome.
There was such a huge push for support, shop local, support local. And so we did see a lot of online sales. And when you go online, there's always that message to the roaster or contact the seller. We got so many lovely letters from so many amazing people. Just like, hey man, see you guys are in a town of 1,200 people in central Nebraska. I'm from Texas. Just looking to support in any way that I can.
That's awesome.
We were contacted by a firefighter in California. And during COVID, his goal was to order 50 bags of coffee from every state. He wanted one bag of coffee from every state from a small roaster. So he didn't want to use any of the mega roasters out there. He wanted to find small roasters. And then he has a Facebook page and he did reviews and
that's awesome.
brewing. Yeah, and so it was super cool to connect with them and just see what they're doing. And he's like, I'm an essential worker. And he's like, the guys at the fire hall all need coffee. So he said, I'm their connection. And he said, we're seeing where the best coffee is. So it was really neat to have those conversations and see what everybody else is doing out there. But yeah, the support, not just the support locally was really cool to see, but nationwide, the support that people had and the concern that they were showing. And because we're a small business, we are that. So having one or two people in the roastery at a time was not a big deal for us. And so operations and during COVID really didn't affect us. If anything, it bumped our sales. It did affect our wholesale accounts. But because they're small businesses also, you know, like when Starbucks and stuff was shutting down because of COVID, all of our small local coffee shops were still in operation. Like, they still have bills to pay, man. And so they stayed in operation, and they picked up a lot of clients that normally would go to the Starbucks or the Scooters that closed. Not to cast shade on those organizations, I'm just saying, like, this is what it is. So a lot of our shops saw some pretty significant growth as well, and it's been fun to watch as they maintain that growth, or they maintain that client base that they accumulated during COVID, to see them keep that client, because they're like, we can do really good. And when people recognize that their small town local businesses can do as good or better than what corporates can, it's been a lot of fun to watch that growth happen and then continue to happen, you know, post-COVID. So COVID was frustrating, but we did have to make some pretty significant pivots on what we were doing and how we were doing it, just because we didn't have the access or the ability to travel. You know, like, you could walk around Burwell and it wasn't a big deal. Like, you didn't really notice a whole lot of things changing. But if you went to Grand Island or Kearney, like, it was like a time warp, man. You were going into a whole nother space. And so, you know, learning to navigate that, we did have to pivot, like, our wholesale stuff and how we did it and what we were offering to help sustain and grow through that time.
And I've said it a lot on this podcast, but the ability, you know, when you've got a Starbucks that basically just closes everything down, or you're a small business, you may not have the money, you may not have the recognition nationally, but locally, and just within the business, you can pivot and you can make changes. And we saw that businesses throughout that maybe weren't offering a service or whatever it may be, that they can now. Hey, we can pivot, we can get through this. We've got to get aggressive and figure things out. And so stories like that are really cool to hear. And I think it's encouraging for small business owners, because you know, just because you don't have the name recognition doesn't mean that you can't be a success.
Well, and that's the nice thing about being a small business. Like, if you come up with a wild idea in the business, you present it to 6 people, and it's like, can we do this? Can you guys get on board? And it's a lot easier to sway 6 people than it is to sway 600 people. So when we started talking about making some pivots and some changes on how we market, who we market to, you know, you give it to the team, present it, and they're like, I think this can work. Like, we can do this. It's a lot, but I think we can do it. And it's not like we got anything else going on. I mean, COVID shut down, so
it's worth a shot.
So during COVID, our roasting space pivoted and started focusing a lot more on our wholesale customers. The support that we offer to them and some of the services. Because, like, as a roastery, it's really hard to sell. Like, so what do you do? Well, I roast coffee. Oh, what makes you different? We roast in 10 to 1,200 people, and we roast really good coffee. Awesome. Well, cool. I can talk to 12 other roasters that roast in bigger communities and make really good coffee. What makes you different? And so what we really started to focus on, you know, our thing at Normal is like creating conversation and communication over cups of coffee.
Experience.
You know, we want to bring people together. Our lab, we don't offer internet to customers. We love our customers, right? Like, we want you to come hang out, but we want you to come in and connect with the people sitting across the table from you. It just blows my mind that you, like, walk into a restaurant or a bar or a coffee shop and they got 6 people sitting around the table and they're all on their phones, you know, and I'm like, you're sitting across the table from some of the coolest creations ever in the world, and you're blowing them off. Like, what's going on, guys? And so we really do try to cultivate, like, you know, connection at the human level, face to face. And during COVID, that was all stripped from us, right? You know, everybody had to stay at home, don't go out, don't hang out in big groups. And so what we recognized is our wholesale accounts need support. They want, when you limit the customers to walk in or carry out or curbside or drive through only, those business owners and that staff are still looking for the connection. And we saw a huge opportunity for Normal to come in and fill that void for them. So while yes, we are a roastery, like, we cultivate in the connection and the conversations with our wholesale accounts. We offer an incredible product, right? But the thing that we offer that sets us apart from everybody else is we are really, really hyper-focused on the back-end support for our shops and our business owners and business leaders. So when they come in and they're like, man, I'm thinking about switching coffee, like, why should I use Normal? We don't just roast really cool coffee. Like, we've got back-end support with the Wholesale Collective and, you know, open lines of communication and chat rooms that we offer to our wholesale accounts that nobody else has access to. And so through all of this, like, we've created a space where owners and managers, business leaders can come in and ask questions without judgment. Like, man, I'm really having problems with, you know, I got a barista and they just can't quite get over the hump of this particular skill set. Like, what can you do to help? Or how can we help them navigate this? If it's a private question, they can take it to a private channel between the coffee shop and Normal. But if it's a little bit broader question, they can take it to what we call the Wholesale Collective chat, which is all of the wholesale accounts that we serve. And they can ask questions, and it's really fun creating community in the specialty coffee industry in central Nebraska, because you could have a coffee shop in Grand Island ask a question, and a coffee shop in McCook or in Sioux Falls, South Dakota answer that question. Go, oh, hey, we had a similar situation, and this is how we handled it. Maybe this would work for you guys. When we onboard a new account and they're doing like a build out, we had a coffee shop that was doing a drive-through, but they didn't want to invest the money for like a magnetic system for identification of a car in the drive-through.
Okay.
So they were asking questions in the wholesale account chat, like, hey, anybody that has a drive-through, what do you guys use for notifications? And they got a whole bunch of ideas ranging anywhere from $50 to $1,000 on ways to get notified. And so it was just really fun to watch and involve everybody in the community. You know, when a wholesale account is doing really, really well, they can come and we can celebrate together. And if a wholesale account's having trouble and struggling, like, we can come together and support them, help them, you know, let them grieve in that space, but then help create ideas to get through that difficult space. So it's been a lot of fun, but that's what we offer that's different than a lot of other accounts. Like, you're more than just a number on the roast table. And that was one heck of a tangent. But man, that's my soapbox. Like,
no, that's good.
Everybody just gets so isolated and everybody's looking at making that next dollar. And for us, it's a lot more than like, because ultimately the more success that our shops have, the more success that Normal has. And so the things that we can do to help streamline that success it's fun for us and it's better for everybody.
Sure, absolutely.
So,
did you guys have any apprehension as far as a town of 1,200 people opening up a coffee shop, if you would be accepted, what the response would be like, you know, would the volume of sales be there? I mean, like you said, Burwell is a little bit different where you've got the lake. You've got a lot of people coming in and out, but was there ever a little bit of anxiety that this would go?
Oh yeah. We actually got pushback from every one of our people in the tribe.
Really?
I was telling you about before we started, right? Like, the tribe, we believe, needs to be a competent bookkeeper, an accountant, a banker, and a lawyer. And any major pivots within the organization that we do, we always try to take those ideas to them to get their feel for it. And they all were just cautious.
Sure.
Coffee is a volume-based business. At the end of the day, regardless of what you want to make of it, like, you have to just move quantity of product in order for it to be sustainable. And they said, man, like, Burwell already has a single coffee shop in the community already. Your community is only 1,200 people. Like, what is the reasoning behind it? And we recognized before we ever opened our doors that the lab was not going to be the thing that helped us retire. We opened the lab more for like advertisement and brand awareness than anything else. Because like I said, we've been roasting here, you know, since 2017. We opened the lab in 20, and we had people coming to the lake for 15 years, and they never knew Normal was on the square. Just because we did everything, we called it a backdoor business. Roasted all of our coffee in the back, shipped all of our coffee out of the back. Deliveries and pickups were all done in the alley. So, like, it was kind of a shady deal, you know what I mean? If you, And so when we opened the front and we welcomed people into our space, it really enlightened, was an opportunity for conversation and just awareness of what we were doing and that we were even here.
Yeah.
And so, yes, there was, and there still is, like every year we look at it, it's like, man, is the lab a viable thing? Like, is it worth investing that money and energy into the lab? And to this point, it always has been.
Yeah.
The connections and the conversations that we're able to have has just been like monetarily, like you can't monetize that, like you can't put a dollar value on that, because somebody might come in and buy, they might have a total ticket of $20 and they might spend 2.5 hours in your shop, but giving them the opportunity to cultivate that communication and those deeper connections, like, man, that's what it's all about.
Can't put a price on that.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
No, you can't. Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun.
I think it's cool because I'm from small town Nebraska, and I think that even being from small town Nebraska, I think that there may be a little bit of an apprehension as far as getting a small business to go. And so the reason that I asked that question, I guess to compliment you guys, and really anyone that is running a business in small town Nebraska, it's not the easiest thing in the world. Strictly from a population standpoint, if you don't have the people there, you've got to be innovative. You've got to figure it out. And so I guess if there's anyone that's listening to this that maybe that's the reason that they haven't started a small business in their town, maybe small town, there's ways that you can make it work. And I think that that's good for people to see. You can make a go of it. You just maybe have to be a little bit more creative.
Oh, sure. And as I stand on my soapbox and say we want human connections between everybody, like the internet, man, if you can figure out how to package and ship your products, the internet we've put coffee in 48 different states. We're missing 2 states. Hawaii and one other one. Don't ask me, I can't remember the other one. But there's only 2 states that we haven't shipped to. Yeah. So if you have any friends,
anybody in Hawaii who's listening,
hook us up, and I will. If you pay for shipping, I will give you the coffee free.
There you go. There you go.
But the internet, man, it's an incredible tool when leveraged for the betterment of humanity, and that's what's enabled us to do what we do.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun to watch that grow. But yeah, people just randomly find you on Google searches and everything else. I don't know how half of them come across, but like a friend of a cousin's great uncle. Like he told me about you guys, and I check it out. Yeah. So it's been pretty neat.
That's awesome.
It's been fun.
That's awesome.
So
what's your favorite part of being a small business owner?
It's the best part, man, like the people.
Yeah. Inside
and outside of the organization. The conversations and the connection that we've had, like you just get to meet so many people as a small business owner. Cultivating those relationships with people, with my vendors, with my wholesale accounts, with my retail customers, like having conversations and emailing back and forth. It's just been so much fun. Like we serve a quality product, but like hearing customer stories when they tell you, like, I sat down and drank coffee with my 16-year-old son for 2.5 hours this morning. That would have never happened had I not had a bag of coffee on my counter. Yeah. Like hearing those stories, it's like, let's go, man. That's what I want to hear. That's what makes, that's my favorite part about this whole thing. Yeah. We've got some incredible human beings that work here, and watching them grow. Like I recognize that, like roasting coffee or serving cups of coffee is probably not your end goal. But if we can help cultivate your success later on in life, I want the people that work here to look back on life, look back at normal and be like, that was a fun experience. Yeah. Like I had so much fun there. I learned so much from Josh and Sara and Zoe and Tall Josh while I was there. Like the opportunities that I was given and the things that I got to see and do, the conversations that I had were so helpful getting me to my ultimate goal. Yeah. So that's what I really, really like, is cultivating that relationship and watching others grow.
Unintended consequence.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
cool. Has this is this kind of the vision that you saw when you started this, or has it taken a direction and kind of went a way where maybe you didn't see, but has been good in the long run?
You know, like I said, originally we bought this as kind of a pet project for my wife.
Yeah.
It was just something for her to do one day a week. And so originally or initially when we started this deal, or when we bought it, it was just to get Sara out of the house and give her a break from the four beautiful babies that we were raising at home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say never in our wildest dreams did we see it getting to where it's at today, but originally it's evolved a lot.
Yeah.
And when we first got into it, I think our biggest goal or like vision for the organization was just to create really good coffee beans.
Yeah.
And package and ship a quality product. But over the last 5 years, we've really seen a shift in that vision of like, well, yes, we do want to serve and produce quality product.
Mm-hmm.
More importantly to us, we want to cultivate and create high quality humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, just like getting great people out there into the world. And it's been fun to watch people come in and people go. One of the first people to ever quit normal, they called me up and they were like, hey, it was our front end manager. And they said, hey, our front end lead, they said, hey, we need to have a conversation. I said, yeah, come on in, I'd love to talk. So they come in and they were like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that like, I'm going to be leaving. I'm going to give you a month. Like, I just don't want it to like, and I'm like, you're leaving, where are you going? They told me what they were doing. I'm like, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
And they were like, wait, what? And I'm like, this is great. Like, you're getting a pay raise, you're getting full benefits, like you're moving your family forward. Like, this is awesome. And they were like, well, this is awkward. I don't know what, I was really expecting you to be upset. And I'm like, no, this is so awesome. Like, I'm so excited that you can improve and move forward. And they were like, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And so, I think that there's definitely a different way to do business.
Sure.
And we're definitely seeing a shift, on how business used to be to how businesses are today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I could be slightly biased, but I do think that we're, leading that, like small business, like employing people, running a business can be done differently than it used to be.
Yeah.
You don't have to wake up every day and hate your life.
Right.
Like, that is unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just trying to create a space where people love coming to work,
Mm-hmm.
and they love coming to work, but they also are excited about leaving and moving on to that next step.
Right.
I don't want to be a stepping stone for somebody's career. I want to be a launch pad. Like, I want them to look back and be like, I'm where I'm at today because of the things that I learned and the experiences I had while I was at Burwell.
Yeah.
And so, like, we're super excited about when people have the opportunity to leave and improve. I'm not saying we're perfect, but it's been a lot of fun to watch the success of others. So,
and, you give people the opportunity to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
If they've got ideas.
Oh yeah.
To where you actually put those into action. Giving people an opportunity to make something better, not just themselves, but if they can make your business better, just by you listening and not thinking that you know everything and they don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's not something I got into business for, but it's really cool to see people grow and evolve and develop and become better versions of themselves.
Yeah.
And you get to watch that and help them grow and maybe guide them along the way. That's something super cool. And I don't think anybody really gets into starting a business with that in mind, but you kind of you see it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch, as staff comes and goes and watch them evolve and grow. Because we've had staff that, like, they come in very hesitant to express ideas or things that could change for the better.
Yeah.
And like demonstrating that we live what we talk about. Because there's a lot of people, we have an open door policy. If you have a problem, come talk to us. And, in the past, they've heard these same sayings, those buzzwords and those buzz phrases. And when they are a little bit hesitant, you ask them the questions regularly, like, hey, what needs to change? What can we do to improve? Mm-hmm. They're a little bit hesitant, when they first come in. But you give them enough time and you demonstrate you don't just talk about it, but when they present a problem to you, like, man, this could be better. Like, this would really help with efficiencies back here. And then you sit down and say, give me a couple of days and I'll get back to you on it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And you come back with an actionable plan. So this is the concern that you brought up. Like, these are a couple of things that I think could change to improve this. Do you agree or disagree?
Right.
You're actually going to take action on it. Well, yeah. And like, this is the time frame. This is the schedule that we want to make this thing happen. You start getting buy-in, and then they become less and less and less hesitant to talk about some of the problems and the concerns, because we very early on realized that, like, there's a lot that we suck at, man. We are not good at a lot of things as business owners. And so bringing other people into the fold and encouraging them to express their ideas, like, has been super fun. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's made us a better organization, and it's made me a better human.
Yeah.
To see these other perspectives and ideas.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. So, if you had to go back, or let's say you could go back to day one, and you can kind of choose whether that's when the lab opened or when you guys really got going as far as the roasting, but if there's one piece of advice you could give yourself going back, what would that be?
Plan for the messy middle. And it's where we currently find ourselves. Messy middle, I mean, like years 3 to 7, 3 to 10.
Yeah.
There's tons and tons and tons of resources and support for startup. And everybody gets super jacked up and excited for small business. And, oh, my brother's doing a thing, or my best friend's starting this thing, and let's talk about it and buy all of his product and share it with all of our friends.
Yeah.
You have to prepare for the messy middle, because if you're not intentional at the beginning, and we were not, like, full transparency, like, we did not prepare for this, you see that exponential growth from 1 to 3, because your friends tell their friends and their family, and then their friends and family tell their friends and family. Well, eventually you get 2 or 3 rings of connection away, and it kind of fizzes out.
Yeah. So
you have to be prepared, or you have to be preparing for when you reach your friends and the friends of friends and your immediate family.
Yeah.
Once you get out there a couple of more ways, what are you doing to reach that next level of stuff? And that's where the Wholesale Collective that we do, that's where we come in and help our shops. We're limited to what we can do and who we can serve and how we can serve them, but like, we're there to help our shops prepare for that messy middle space. Because you know, what's the percentage? It's a wild high percentage that small businesses fail between years 3 and 5.
Yeah.
Somewhere up of like 75%.
Yeah, it's a huge number.
60%. And so if we can help coach and, you know, cheer for and help prepare for that messy middle, like, that's, if I could go back, I would tell myself, I would beat myself into submission and say, plan for 3 to 7, because that's where it gets gross and ugly. And that's just a reality of what small business is. Because like I said, it gets super fun, but man, when you hit year 3 and you're roasting the same coffee and you're putting it into the same bags and you're shipping it to the same people, like, it kind of loses its luster, you know what I mean? And so making sure that you're prepared for that and you have plans to scale through that. That's where it's, get ready for that messy middle. That's where it's at. It's just a fact of life.
You know, I'm kind of there too, where in the beginning you think, well, this is the worst part of it. I've got to figure out how to grow my business and keep the lights on and all that stuff. Like, financially, I've got to figure out how to make this work.
Yeah.
And so you think, once I can get to a place where the money's just coming in and I'm established, that's when it's going to be good. And what you don't realize is that when you get to the middle, there's a new set of challenges and problems that arise.
Yeah.
And the money may be coming in, but you've got to figure out other stuff. You've got to figure out people. You've got to figure out, you know, shipping or whatever it is within your business. And once you get that past that phase to the next level, there's going to be a new set of challenges that you don't even have to worry about now. And so as a small business owner, I don't think it ever ends, where you're trying to grow and you're trying to figure out how to get better and face those challenges. No matter what phase you're in, you think, oh, if I can just get to this place, it'll be better. That's not necessarily the case.
Right. Yeah. And that's, like I said, there's all kinds of support for the startup, and startup is wild and crazy. You're trying to figure out how to do bookkeeping and how to set up legal structures and how to set up processes and how to set up your shipping and handling and communication between customers and you and staff, and how to just flat out pay your bills. But then you get into that grind of every day. You kind of get your people on board, but then you have to worry about scalability. Like, how do I bring in new customers? Or if you're really good at bringing in new customers, how do I then serve them once I have them on board? How do I create more money to scale and purchase bigger and better equipment to keep up with the growth that we now have? And what does that look like moving forward? And growing with intention. And so, like, it's recognizing that it's not like the finish line that you're shooting for. We are really focused on the journey itself and navigating those changes as we're in the middle of it.
And everybody's journey is different.
Oh, sure.
Some people don't think that they will get as popular as they do, and it just shoots out like a rocket, but you can't keep up.
Right.
And other people grow steadily and gradually, and I don't know. It's kind of the fun part, but the challenges never end.
Yeah. Like I said, if somebody could figure out how to create a consulting business or like a space to help small businesses through that messy middle, I think there's something there. So we're trying to figure it out. I'm actively working on creating something. I just don't know what it looks like yet.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Because it's so different for everyone.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah. There's no one size fits all in small business.
So if you get someone who's in the startup phase, they come to you. And they say, all right, Josh, I'm going to start a business. What's one piece of advice you would give me that I can take on?
I would say, man, build your tribe. And as quickly as you financially can, delegate the things delegate the things that you suck at. Like, get rid of the things that don't bring you joy as quickly as possible. And your tribe, like I said earlier, consists of a bookkeeper, your tax guy, your banker, and a lawyer. Create strong relationships with those 4 entities. And encourage them to communicate with each other, not just with you. Because you want your bookkeeper to be on the same page as your accountant. And you want your accountant and bookkeeper to be on the same page as your banker. And you need all of them to be on the same page with your attorney. And so cultivating and creating, what we call that tribe of legal representation or professional representation maybe, is really, really key. We found, like I was telling you before we started, like, my wife and I are not good at bookkeeping. And so when we got to tax time the first couple of years, it was like a shoebox with receipts and pieces of paper and scribbles, and it's like, okay, Mr. Accountant, good luck, friend. I hope you can figure that out.
And that's not their job, really.
No, it's not. God bless our accountant. He took good care of us. But when we hired a bookkeeper, we had that monthly expense of the bookkeeper. But come tax time, everything was organized. It was buttoned up and ready to go. My accountant spent half of the time on prepping our taxes. And we got more write-offs and more deductions, and it was just all a lot better put together because he wasn't trying to look at receipts from January at the beginning of the year and read, like, well, what was this for? Who did that? When we got it all to our bookkeeper, they could file it and get everything buttoned up really nice and pretty. And so at tax time, our bookkeeper paid for themselves at tax time because everything was just right there.
Absolutely.
And people don't think, like, as small business owners, I'm small time, I don't need legal representation. I just need to, like, maybe know an attorney. But we had an incident with Normal right after we opened the lab. So it would have been the first part of, it would have been like January, February of 21. What had happened was a scammer took the Normal Roasting Company name and would charge people's credit cards. And so then what was happening was people were contacting Normal Roasting Company from Arizona, Texas, New York, New Jersey, and saying, hey, I have a $99 charge on my credit card. I've never ordered your product. Can I get a refund? And I'm like, where are you from? And who are you? And they were like, no kidding. Like, I'm reviewing my statement here, and I have a charge from, and it was like normal roasting subscribed box is what they called it. And it was for $99. And it was just under the threshold of getting flagged.
Yeah.
And they would just hit your card one time, and then they'd move on. And after about the third, at first I thought it was a scam. I thought they were just trying to get me to refund their money.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, give me your name and phone number. Well, after about the third or fourth phone call and email, I'm like, there might be some merit to this.
Yeah.
I contacted our attorney and explained what was going on. She's like, we need to have a sit down. And so we went down to Ord and met with our attorney, and she laid out she's like, this is what I think is happening. She said, I'm going to make some phone calls. And so we had to, because of the relationship that we had with our attorney, she punched out a script for us, and she said, if you get contacted via phone call, they just need to read this script. It's not us. It's a scam. You need to contact your credit card or your bank account and have them deal with it. It was just one of those things that, like, I was ultimately concerned that they were going to get on Google and start giving us bad reviews and get on our Facebook and Instagram and start throwing a bunch of hate at us, and it was out of our control. And so having that relationship with our attorney made that very quick and easy to get that taken care of. You know, within 2 days we had a script, and we were kind of getting out in front of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting your tribe put together is really important, and having that structure in place.
Yeah. Peace of mind costs a lot of money, but it's worth it.
You know, ultimately at the end of the day, it's one of those upfront costs. Like, it does suck and it's expensive today, but it's one of those things, like, if it ever happens and you ever need somebody, like, they're there to help you out when you need it. So, but yeah.
Cool. Hey man, this has been a lot of fun. I need to know, or I need you to tell us how we can find out more about Normal Roasting Company.
We're on the internet at normalroastingcompany.com. Facebook and Instagram is Normal Roasting Company. We're located in Burwell on the square. Should be in all the maps and Google searches, so if you check us out, just Google us. If you're looking at starting a shop, we do have consulting packages and stuff like that if you're wanting to start a shop or just talk about it. If you're wanting to start a roasting company, we'd love to chat. So
awesome.
If you just want a cup of coffee, come on in.
Hey,
so
if you're coming to the Calamus, you need to stop in, get yourself a cup of coffee.
You bet.
Leave your phone in the car.
That's it.
Come in and have a conversation.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah,
let's talk.
Josh, it's been great to get to know you better.
Sure.
Get to know more about your business. Wish you nothing but the best.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, man. It's been awesome.